So in this video we are going to be preparing my dirt cheap Honda Civic Type R behind me for its first track day. But before we do that, I just want to talk a little bit more about my plans for the car. Now, as I said in the last video, I would like to take this car to every racetrack in the UK and do a track day. And between doing the track days, I want to modify the car, and hopefully by the end of it, we will have a race car. So these are the 15 tracks I'm planning on doing. They are all tracks that are raced on. Now, I know there are more places you can do track days, such as Three Sisters and Bedford, but I'm just planning on doing the 15 that are actually raced on. Doesn't mean I'm not going to do them, but these are the 15 that I really want to do. Now, you can see I've put where I live, which is roughly here. My local track is Castle Combe. Now, obviously, for me to drive all the way up to Knockhill is going to take a while, so I'm planning on doing a couple of tracks in 1 week, maybe even 5 in 5 days if I can get the time off. So if that is of any interest of you, please subscribe, and now let's get back to the car. As you can see, I've got loads of parts here to put on the car, and the first thing we're going to do is an oil change. So the oil I'm using is this Miller's oil, which is exactly the same as what I use in the Subaru, and I've got a genuine Honda oil filter. Now we've done the engine oil, we're going to do the gearbox oil. So to drain the gearbox oil, it is this plug here, and to fill it up is this one up here. Now, top tip when doing these, always undo the filler before you drain the oil, because if you can't undo this, you're never going to get any oil back in it. So that's draining nicely. Just thought I'd mention that the plug to fill it, the filler plug, is a 17mm, same as the sump plug. That's also 17mm. And for to empty it, this is a 3/8 square drive. So you can just put your ratchet in there to undo that. Right. So while that's draining, we'll grab the oil. So I'm going to be using this MTF3 Honda transmission fluid, and to fill it up, I've got a funnel here with a tube. And the tube goes all the way under, if you can see, under here, through there, into the filler cap. So when I fill it up, it should fill this up, and when it starts pouring out, that means it's full, and it should take about 2 litres. So that is all the fluids done on the engine and the gearbox. So next job is going to change the air filter. If you'd have seen my last video when I picked the car up, the air filter looked like this. So we're going to change it and put one of these K&N performance panel filters on. So it's a nice and easy quick job. Just undone this hose, undone the MAF sensor, and there's these 3 clips here. 1, 2, 3, unhook them. Takes the cover off, throw that one in the bin, and then pop the nice new K&N filter on. So the last jobs I want to do on the engine before we start putting some go faster bits on is change the spark plugs and check the valve clearances. Now, to do that, I'm going to take the scuttle panel off here, so it gives me more access to the top of the engine. As you can see, with the scuttle panel removed, gives me much more access to the top of the engine. I've also removed the plastic covers which are on here and covering these coil packs. Next thing I'm going to do is remove the coil packs and then remove the spark plugs. So the coils are off, the spark plugs are out. I've taken this breather pipe off and this bracket here. Now, looking at spark plugs, if I can focus, there you go. Looks like they're burning alright, but looks like they've been in there a while, so it's probably a good job that we're changing them. Now, the next thing we're going to do is remove the rocker cover. So it's just these 10mm nuts here, and then the whole thing should pull off. Now with the valve cover off, you can see the inside of the cylinder head. So it's the timing chain, the 2 cams, and then these are the valves down. Here's the inlet, and these are the exhaust at the back. Now, to check the valve clearances, you need to put the engine top dead center, which I've already done. Now, if you look at these rockers on here, they should be, you can see they're loose, which is what we want. And then we need to measure the gap between the valve and the rocker. And to do that, I'm going to use a feeler gauge. So for the inlet we are going to use this one here, which is 0.23mm, which is roughly in between the tolerance, and then it should slide between the valve and the rocker. If I can get that in there nicely, there you go. And there's a little bit of resistance on there, which is what you want, and that one is perfect. Now what we do all 16 of them, and if they're a little bit loose or a little bit tight, we'll loosen them off by undoing this nut here and then turning this screw slightly and then measuring them to make sure they are all the correct tolerance. Now that's all the valve clearances done, and they're all good apart from a couple of the exhaust ones on the back here. So I've adjusted them so they're spot on, which is pretty good for an engine that's done 148,000 miles. So we'll put the valve cover back on. Now I've got a new seal just so it doesn't leak, and then we'll put the new spark plugs in. There we go, the covers all back on now. I'm just going to whack these new spark plugs on. You see there's a bit of a difference between the old ones and the new ones. So hopefully it'll run a bit better now with the valve clearances and the new spark plugs. Might even make a little bit more power. Now the engine's all done, I think the next most important thing is the brakes. As you can see, I've already got the wheel up and the car jacked up. And if we're going to be going a lot faster, we're going to want to stop quickly. So I've got these PBS Pro Race brake pads. I've got some new braided brake hoses, and then we're going to be using this racing brake fluid to replace the fluid. So to get the caliper off is super easy. There's a bolt which was in there, and you have to hold this with a 15mm spanner, and this is a 13mm bolt. Undo that, loosens all this off, and then slide the caliper off. And then you just need to compress the piston back, and I used one of these tools to twist and push it in because it's got the handbrake, so you have to twist the piston while you push it. So this is the pad I've just taken out. As you can see, it's pretty much brand new compared to the new one. But we're going to put new ones on anyway because these are performance ones and they should last a lot longer than these on a track. I've used some cheap ones before in my Subaru and they lasted one track day, but we'll keep these and we'll take them with us in case we run out of brake pads, and then at least we've got some brake pads to get us home with. So that's the pads installed. So the next thing is we're going to change, we're going to change this brake line here, this rubber one, for, if I can focus it, one of these braided lines. It should give me a much better feel on the pedal. So I've already cracked off this banjo bolt, and I've also cracked off this line here, so I'm going to undo these and take the whole line out. So that's all installed now, and the last thing to do is to bleed the brakes, and then we got the other three sides to do.
Several days later.
Now this front driver's side has been a right pain. As you can see, it's a brand new caliper on here, because this one, the piston is seized. I cannot rewind the piston, so I will either rebuild this one or get flat around the garage for a couple of years. We'll see. Now I've also got some camber bolts here, which I will put in on here, and getting these two bolts out again wasn't easy. I actually broke my breaker bar trying to get it off, so I had to go and buy a longer breaker bar and add some heat. So with the camber bolts in the front, we should be able to get some negative camber to give us some more front end grip. Now with the camber bolt installed, if I move the spanner, you can see on the spirit level here, I can increase the camber, so we set it at maximum negative camber for maximum attack. Now when I bought the car, they had some budget tyres on. Now I've gone for these Nankang NS2R tyres, which I managed to get used, with these used wheels as well. They come as a package, so they should give me more grip than some budget tyres anyway. So we'll give them a go. I've always wanted to try these on track, so we'll see how we get on. Now one of the requirements for a track day is to have towing eyes installed. Now unfortunately my Civic didn't come with a towing eye when I brought it, so I'm going to fit one of these towing eyes here to the front, and to do that we're going to have to remove the front bumper. So apparently the front bumper just unclips and there's only two screws holding on. Now on my last video, when I reattached this arch a bit better, I used the screw here that holds the bumper on to hold the arch on. So we'll undo this screw, take this arch off, do the same on the other side, and hopefully it'll all unclip. going to do this one-handed. Oh, there we go. That's the bumper off. That was easy. So the original tow night it's fitted with would have come through this hole here, which is just in here. So that's in where the original tow eye is. Now I'm going to bolt this behind here onto this chassis rail. But to do that, I'm going to have to make this hole a bit bigger so I can thread that through there and put a bolt through here, and then it should hang out the bumper. So as you can see, I've cut a slot and the loop fits in nicely, and I've also drilled these holes out here so we can put an M12 bolt in, which is 8.8 grade, which is the recommended grade, through there, and then bolt it to this chassis leg. So the bumper is all put back together, and there we have the tow loop. Now the final thing I want to do is to mount a camera somewhere so you can all enjoy my amazing driving skills. Now my plan is to mount this interior light, which is the middle interior light. As you can see, I've always taken the cover off. There's 2 bolt holes here. I'm going to take the whole light out, and then I'm going to make some sort of bracket up so we can mount this GoPro mount, and then we will attach this carbon fibre extension pole to the mount, and then it should be able to sit the camera roughly in the middle of the car, and then you'll all be able to enjoy my driving. Now I've removed the light. There we go, there's 2 threaded holes there which I can put a bracket across, mount the GoPro mount, and job's a good one. Now that is my bracket I have fabricated, I think that's the technical word for it, with a GoPro mount on it. Now again, I said I got this carbon fibre pole extension thingy that'll fit into there like that. GoPro will sit there roughly in the middle of the car. Now I have got another extension piece I can put on it if it's not right, and then we should get some wonderful images for everyone to enjoy. And that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I have booked the first track day for the Civic in a couple of weeks' time, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that out. Now I also have got some white line anti-roll bars to fit to the Civic. I'm hoping to do them before the track day, so the next video will either be the white line anti-roll bars or how I get on its first track day. Thank you for watching.